For years, Jake Paul mastered the internet better than almost anyone else. Algorithms bent in his favor, controversy became currency. Every scandal, every headline, every wave of hate somehow translated into more clicks, more money, more relevance.
23-year-old has more than 20 million YouTube subscribers and draws a lot of attention with his online pranks and stunts, including this one where he climbed on one of our news vans.
While others collapsed under criticism, Jake Paul seemed immune to it, at least on the surface. Jake didn't rise because people loved him. He rose because people couldn't look away. From his early Vine days to YouTube dominance, he understood something most creators didn't. Outrage spreads faster than admiration, and he leaned into it completely. Wild parties, neighborhood chaos, feuds staged like pay-per-view events. Jake wasn't just a creator, he was a walking spectacle, and for a long time, the spectacle worked. But internet fame has an expiration date. When audiences grow older, the chaos stops feeling rebellious and starts feeling repetitive. The pranks feel forced, the persona feels loud instead of dangerous. Jake Paul sensed this shift before it fully happened, and he pivoted. That pivot was boxing. At first, nobody took it seriously. It looked like another gimmick, another attention grab, a YouTuber playing fights for clicks. Critics laughed, boxers rolled their eyes. He trained and marketed himself as the villain. He picked opponents carefully, former athletes, retired fighters, names with recognition but limited risk. Each win wasn't just a victory in the ring, it was a statement online. Jake Paul wasn't trying to become the best boxer, he was trying to become unavoidable. Pay-per-view numbers climbed, sponsorships followed. Suddenly, the joke wasn't funny anymore. Jake Paul was making real money in a real sport. But here's the problem with branding yourself as a disruptor. Eventually, you have to face the thing you claim to disrupt. As Jake's opponents became younger, stronger, and closer to their prime, the narrative began to crack. Losses hit harder than views ever could. The illusion of invincibility faded the moment reality stepped into the ring. Outside boxing, things weren't smoother. Old controversies never disappeared. Accusations of scams, crypto promotions that aged badly, NFTs that quietly collapsed. Lawsuits and investigations followed not loudly, but persistently. The audience that once cheered chaos began asking questions. Was Jake Paul evolving or just running from irrelevance? Behind the scenes, the energy changed. Fights took longer to arrange, promotions felt forced, trash talk sounded recycled. Confidence remained, but it felt practiced rather than natural. Jake Paul still had money and attention, but control was slipping. Because the internet doesn't reward longevity, it rewards novelty, and novelty doesn't last forever. What makes Jake Paul's downfall different isn't a single scandal or one career-ending moment, it's erosion. A gradual shift from dominance to defense, from shaping narratives to responding to them, from being ahead of the culture to chasing it. He built an empire on momentum, on being louder, faster, more outrageous than everyone else. But momentum only works if nothing slows you down, and eventually, something always does. Today, Jake Paul exists in a strange middle ground, too famous to disappear, too exposed to reinvent himself completely. Every move is scrutinized, every win questioned, every loss magnified. The villain persona that once empowered him now limits him, because villains only work when the audience believes they might win. He isn't finished, but the version of him that once dominated the internet is, and the era of unchecked chaos is over. And what comes next will determine whether Jake Paul becomes a case study in reinvention or a cautionary tale about what happens when attention runs out. He didn't fall overnight, and that's what makes his story uncomfortable. For years, Jake Paul was untouchable, not because he was the best boxer, not because he was the smartest businessman, but because attention bent in his favor. Every scandal fed the algorithm, every controversy became fuel. Hate didn't hurt him, it paid him. He entered the internet as a Disney kid who understood one thing earlier than everyone else: outrage travels faster than talent. While others chased respect, Jake chased clicks, and clicks built an empire. When YouTube fame peaked, he pivoted. Not because he outgrew it, but because he saw the ceiling. Boxing wasn't passion, it was leverage, a way to force legitimacy. At first, it worked. Amateur-looking knockouts, carefully chosen opponents, retired athletes, non-boxers. Wins that looked impressive to casual viewers, but raised eyebrows in real boxing circles. Critics laughed, purists complained, Jake smiled because the numbers kept climbing. But there's a problem with manufactured momentum. Eventually, you have to face gravity. As the opponents improved, the illusion weakened. The footwork, the defense, the stamina. Jake Paul wasn't bad, but he wasn't elite. And elite is the standard you invite when you claim greatness. Losses changed the tone. Not instantly, but subtly. Confidence shifted into justification, trash talk into explanation. The swagger was still there, but it had cracks. Outside the ring, the business machine kept running. Promotions, podcasts, NFTs, energy drinks, brand deals stacked on top of brand deals. Jake wasn't just selling fights, he was selling the idea that he couldn't lose. And that's where the danger lives. Because when your brand is invincibility, every mistake becomes fatal. The crowd started changing. Early fans grew older. New audiences were harder to impress. The algorithm moved on, quietly, ruthlessly. Views softened, engagement slowed. The same stunts didn't hit like they used to. He responded the only way he knew how: bigger noise, bigger claims, bigger promises. But volume can't replace belief. The boxing world never fully accepted him. The internet stopped being surprised by him, and sponsors began calculating risk instead of reach. Then came the subtle distancing. Collaborators disappeared, momentum stalled. The narrative shifted from disruptor to trying too hard. The joke wasn't anger anymore, it was fatigue. Jake Paul is still rich, still famous and capable of selling a fight, but something important is gone: the inevitability. He no longer feels like the future, he feels like someone fighting relevance. And that's the real downfall. Not losing money, not losing fame, but losing the sense that you matter tomorrow. Jake Paul tried to outrun the internet by becoming bigger than it. But the internet doesn't crown kings, it replaces them. And the scariest part? This story isn't finished. Because downfall doesn't always end with collapse. Sometimes it ends with silence.